Okay, I am back, and I did a lot of work. So, including a new entrance right here, into the well, into the depths of madness we go. Mostly looks nice. I started making a bigger room, so as you can see, I could have a giant mushroom, because you do have to have a certain area open for that to be created. But in the process of changing all that over to dirt, added some vines and decorations. I might add a little bit to the roof somehow to make it look better. Maybe just leaves, some glowstones behind there to keep the place lit. Hopefully keep the monsters out. This is the original entrance, which is kind of a nuisance to go back up out of, which is why I made the well. Well seems to work a little bit better for exiting, at least, if not entering too. But yeah, let me get back to my little mushroom here. Well, big mushroom. My super mushroom. I need a mushroom song to say how awesome my mushroom is. I can make this like a little... Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. Maybe. Yes. So what I'll do is... Crap. This thing is too powerful. Okay. That might not be too bad, though. Problem is I cannot place red bricks. Or the red mushroom. Because they turn into regulars like that. So I think I'll chop that down. Replant it. Get a whole bunch more mushrooms. And then you just use my fist to punch the mushroom. Because red matter stuff is a wee bit too strong. Okay, mushroom, magic mushroom, where'd you go? Why am I singing? Why am I singing? I don't know. Okay, what do we got? There's that. And boom! Wow! Right in the face. That one is kind of short. Let's try that again. See if I can get a larger one. Fun with randomness. Never getting what you want. You know, I'm going to talk about crossovers, because crossovers are awesome. You know, like, you know, Superman versus Hulk, or Superman versus Thor, or Superman versus Hulk and Thor, really. I mean, come on, he's Superman. Let's be serious here. Star Trek versus Star Wars, Wolverine versus Batman. That does remind me, I did see a really awesome live-action Wolverine versus Batman, which I'm sure you could search for on YouTube, but I'll probably add a link in the description, because it's pretty cool. And let's see what we get out of this one. There we go. That's good. And let's punch. There we go. And where are those blocks? I don't know. Maybe I don't get any. And I'm almost starving. I have some fish. Fish, fish, fishy. You know, I'm going to knock this down again, see if I can get a block somehow. I could have sworn it was possible to. Maybe not. I guess it isn't. So I will need a substitute material that kind of looks like that. And where's my bone meal? Yeah, so crossovers. For instance. Like, okay, there we go. Is that big enough for a... Yes, it is. Like, this is gonna get geeky, so bear with me. But, like, Wolverine. Can Wolverine's claws cut someone like Superman? And could Superman break Wolverine's claws? That's actually something I ask random comic book geek friends just love to tax their knowledge. And the general consensus is that Superman should be able to break adamantium, and then that Claws should be able to at least cut and scrape Superman, but probably not just dig deep into it. There's no specific consensus on it, but it's a fun little mental exercise if you love comic book characters. And yeah, when it comes to crossovers, people, I mean, come on. Okay, Batman's good. I'll give him that. Him winning always seems to hinge on him being prepared. But he's not always prepared. And he does get punched. He does get hit. He does temporarily lose a battle sometimes before he comes back and defeats the villain. And it's a little ridiculous, I think, that you just assume that because someone prepares, they can magically defeat, gods and demons and superpowered beings that can throw planets around. And I don't know why I put that there, because I needed that one. A good example being, well, like with the fight, they always have a superhero, different places, different websites will have like a superhero beatdown where they basically have public voting on a tiered combat and who would win. It almost always comes down to like Batman and Superman, and they always have Batman win. But I can understand, because Batman has kryptonite that Superman gave him, typically, and usually depending on what man, those are not creatable, are they? Depending on which version of the story you read. but yeah, like, I mean, there's got to be a limit where you realize, like, you're just pulling stuff out of your ass, essentially. I mean, they are comic books. It is fictional, but at least have some semblance of realism. Batarang is great and all, but there's not much he can do against someone like the Hulk. Let's just use the Hulk as an example. The Batman does not typically do well against extremely overpowered characters. Incredibly strong and durable, unless they have a specific weakness. And Hulk doesn't necessarily have any sort of specific weakness. Like, he resists mental attacks like psionics, he resists magic, he resists pretty much anything. It's not like Superman, where he has a kryptonite. Now, there's some cases where he can be tricked if he's at the point where he can still talk and converse. And Hulk can be reasoned with at times too. It's just, if you get into a fight with him, it's rare that you get him back to a state where you can do those kind of tricks. And even then, you're not exactly, I wouldn't exactly call it a win by saying I avoided being eaten by the Hulk, or stomped or squished or whatever. But it's just, I think, cases where Batman just couldn't win. But just based on the concept of being prepared that people attribute to him, he does against all manner of superpowered heroes and villains. It's just, at least in like the geeky comic polling. But when you try to actually figure it out, like, well, okay, you have him beating Superman, how exactly does he do that? Sure, he has kryptonite, but it's not like Superman is, completely helpless when it comes to kryptonite. He's crippled, yeah, but even when he's on his own and people use kryptonite against him, like Lex Luthor, whoever, he often finds a way out of it. Smallville being a perfect example. Like, if he has enough time, sometimes he can still zap it with his heat vision and just fry it, and then it's no longer an issue. And especially if he's fighting someone like Batman, who he knows has kryptonite, and who he knows that Batman knows his weaknesses. That means Superman is also prepared for Batman, which means Superman knows that worst case scenario, he just doesn't have to get near him. And again, when you get to characters like the Hulk, what exactly are you preparing against? Like, what? How do you stop something that no matter what you do to it, you just make it angrier and stronger? You can go with, I mean, the best case scenario with the Hulk is that you convince him not to fight you and convince him not to get angry with you, in which case you're just kind of avoiding the clash to begin with, which is a smart way to approach it. But it's kind of defeats the purpose of who would win in a fight. Although I did read a fun what if with it's basically like a Hunger Games, and the idea was spawned because of the Hunger Games in this particular case. But the setting, the arena, was basically Jurassic Park, and the game master, the one controlling everything, was Jigsaw from Saw. Then all the contestants were like Batman, Conan, Xena, Eddard Stark from Game of Thrones, and a bunch of other characters, and even real life people. Like they had Bear Grylls, who was ex SAS, I think. It was Special Forces. So I mean, he does. I mean, against someone like Xena or Conan, who has, you know, superhuman strength, despite technically being human, he might not have much of a chance. But it was neat to see him included, at least. But yeah, so typically the answer was just, oh, Batman, he'd be prepared for it. But the situation was more so that he wouldn't be prepared, that he wakes up and finds himself in the arena along with all the other contestants that he doesn't really know anything about. Oh, Hit Girl was in it too. A few people had that as a favorite choice, just because she has the advantage of surprise, because not many people would understand that she's, you know, nearly a psychotic killer on her own. But my personal choice was Xena, because she has superhuman levels of agility and strength and endurance, or near superhuman. And at least in the show, she definitely had survival capabilities, as well as she's fought supernatural creatures on par with dinosaurs. So, you know, she wouldn't really have much of a struggle there. Batman would definitely be up there just because he's overall a talented person when it comes to survival and sneaking around, and like the way I explained it, it's like the dinosaurs probably wouldn't even know Batman is there. I mean, he's like a ninja in that regards. But like, I don't think in a situation like that, I don't think Batman would win, just because of his, at least in his current incarnations, his anti-killing, because you would have to kill in that situation, with the exception that if anybody could find a way out of it, it would be Batman. And but that's also a weakness, because if he doesn't want to kill, and the problem is that he always believes there's a way out of it, and if there was absolutely no way out of it, he would still believe that there would be, and it would be slightly hindered by that, compared to someone like Xena, who has and will kill for her purposes if she needs to. And same thing with Conan. Conan he's devastatingly intelligent when it comes to tactics. He's probably the best survivor that was on the list, along with like Rambo and stuff, just for pure survival skills, combat skills. He's fought what was called like dragons, but they were dinosaurs in the original series. And so, like, he wouldn't have a problem. And actually, he's fought them basically with his bare hands. So there's that's another advantage there. I think the only disadvantage he'd have with Xena is the level of sexual attraction that he would have towards her, where she could use that as a weapon against him. And she is strong enough and fast enough to compete with him too. But yeah. It was interesting because they had other characters like Hawkeye, which if he managed to get a bow, you know, that's game over for a lot of people right there. Because he would be a character that would be willing to kill too if he had to. And now technically in the older comic books, Batman has used guns, has killed, has, you know, done that sort of stuff. It's just in the modern incarnations he doesn't do any of that. But yeah, so what's another good crossover? I mean, you do have popular ones, at least popular on the web, such as Star Trek and Star Wars. Those are Trekkies and Star Wars fans have been clashing for years, I think decades, I should say. And in Star Wars, the travel seems to be more advanced in the sense that, you know, the Empire does seem to travel farther than in Star Trek, or because it's supposed to be a galactic environment in Star Wars, and they travel throughout the entire galaxy. But it's just, I don't know, the technology doesn't seem advanced when it comes to almost everything else. And a good example, I mean, transporter technology is pretty much unique to Star Trek compared to the two between Star Trek and Star Wars. I've never seen a case of teleportation or transportation in Star Wars. I have seen galactic level travel in Star Trek as well. It's usually unique cases like special, basically like special episodes like the Traveler in Star Trek Next Generation, or the Slipstream, or space folding in Voyager, or, you know, wormholes in any of the series really. They do seem to have a better grasp of time travel in Star Trek though. I remember multiple cases where it was stated that time travel and how to deal with time travel are required courses in Starfleet training, which doesn't necessarily have any sort of relation in between, you know, if you had these two universes fighting with their different technology. But there we go. Starting to look a little better. But I think it just demonstrates the different attitudes where in Star Trek this is a culture more devoted to scientific advancement as opposed to one devoted to war, essentially, or to surviving war. And the difference I think that makes in not flooding the thing here. Okay. Difference I think that makes is, well, actually in Deep Space Nine there was a really good episode where the Jem'Hadar had crashed on a planet, and then some of the crew from Deep Space Nine crashed on the same planet. And at one point, I think one of them was captured. It was, oh my God, I can't think of names. The actor's name is Cole Meany. O'Brien, Chief O'Brien. But I think it was him, and the Jem'Hadar were, well, one of the I forgot what the race is called, but like Wayun the ones who control the Jem'Hadar for the founders, were saying, oh, these are one of the famed Starfleet engineers who can turn rocks into replicators, which I think is the perfect explanation. And I'm going to pull out some old school TV show here, and not that Star Trek isn't old school TV, but in Star Trek, almost all the characters are like the professor from Gilligan's Island, where they can, they can make radios out of coconuts and stuff like that. And it's all about, like, if you use technology at all, no matter how advanced it is, in Star Trek they'll figure out how to use it, how to nullify it, or how to use it against you. And it's just because I think between the two shows, the culture that they're trying to represent is, in Star Trek anyway, is that understanding is the ultimate goal, that you can always find a way to understand the world and universe around you and the technology, and basically that humans have the ability anyway to create the tools they need to affect the change they want. If there's a disease ravaging the planet and wiping out humans are capable of finding a way to find a cure for that. If a whole slew of our food production gets wiped out, we have the will to create new technology to find new ways to produce food. And that's kind of the message of Star Trek, is the universe is at our fingertips, in the sense that we can enact the change we need in order to examine and understand the universe. If we don't want to do that, we just don't. But if we want to know what goes on inside of a star, we will find a way to study and understand that. It's what we see so far in science in real life, is that there's not much that we seem to not be able to understand. It's just a matter of time and resources. You have essentially we're finding out why things have mass. With the Higgs boson. And I was reading an article about how a new mathematical model will allow for easier teleportation of information across quantum entanglement, and all that stuff sounds like fiction, science fiction, but it's all science fact. Being able to entangle quantum particles so that what affects one affects the other nearly instantaneously, or apparently so, and then being able to use that to transmit information. It's just, the concept of that is amazing, and the fact that we can understand that and mathematically figure out a way to do it and then perform that experiment. It's just that's why they say math is important, by the way. A lot of the biggest articles I've seen almost always involve math, including stuff like biology, a recent, or society even. A recent article I was reading was talking about how murders, like in a city, expands sort of like a virus spreads, and one of the current models that are going to be tested are to see if they can predict approximately where murders will happen based on calculating where murders are occurring, and then figuring out, well, if this was a virus, how would it spread outwards? And they're finding that the test of seeing if they can predict it haven't happened yet, but of current data and current information, they're finding that they should be able to predict approximately where and when murders will occur based on the previous information. And like, just the idea of that is, you have like the whole future crime worry thing, I guess, from like Minority Report. I'm not sure it's quite like that, but just the idea that you can do that is just amazing, and the fact that we can do it now, or it's still yet to be proven, but the fact that it's something that we believe can be done, and that we're actually trying to do that is, I mean, it speaks a lot to how far we've come from just, banging two sticks together. And, like, I think that's why Star Trek is generally more important, as far as TV shows go, to a society compared to, like, an action movie like Star Trek. I mean, like, yeah, wow, I can't believe I made that mistake. Like an action movie like Star Wars, is that it's demonstrating the use of that ability and what it could mean to us in the future. Now, other shows do that. There are other shows that are capable and have done that. It's just Star Trek is the most prominent example, of that. Which, again, it's a shame it's off the air, at least aside from reruns. But you gotta have optimism somewhere in your view of the future. And let's see if I can expand this river. And let's see what happens. Right, I gotta replace that. Being swept away. Yeah, I think as far as Star Trek and Star Wars, I would bet money on Star Trek for the sole purpose that they have more main characters on their ships than Star Wars does. And because really, when it comes down to it, they're both television shows, or movies. They're both visual mediums, and even in books and other forms of entertainment, it all comes down to who has the most main characters, which is the whole, Star Trek exemplified with the whole red shirt phenomenon. If you're not a main character, you're pretty much doomed to die. And so, when you look at something like Star Wars, where most of their capital ships might have one memorable character, like one particular ship had Darth Vader on it, and you had one particular ship that had, a notable general on it. Then you compare that to Star Trek, which has like a whole slew, like, half a dozen to a dozen featured characters. That doesn't bode well for the Star Wars universe, I don't think. And let's spread this water out a little here. I think that's already, yeah. And whoop, ha. There we go. Some water there, and there's a hole there I need to fix. There we go. I'll have a ladder here, and then maybe put a couple paintings. And really, there's no point to this. Oops, wrong button. I was just playing Borderlands 2, and my buttons are swapped around a little bit compared to Minecraft. And I'm going to need some sort of stairs, I think. Which I will use slabs. There we go. Yeah. Making stairs. Doo-doo-doo. Wow. That. That. And that. Kind of out a little more than I... Yeah, that's not good. That doesn't work. Oh, this works. Close enough. And let's add a little decor. change that though. That there, that there, that there. Some there. Keep this side mostly clear, though it might spread a little. I will clear off the ceiling, I think, or take another layer off the ceiling. And change that to dirt. And add some more. You know, let's do this the easy way. So yeah, the ultimate, I think, in crossover, who would win in a fight? Would it be Martha Kent or Aunt May? A complete throwdown fist fight. Like, that's what I'm talking about right there. Aunt May, you know, she's New York. She's from New York. She's got that going for her. Then again, Martha Kent, you know, she grew up on a farm. She's probably a good amount of endurance going there. So it's a tough one. Like, yeah, it's one you usually have to think about for a while. Then you can tell your friends, yeah, I'm trying to figure out which of these two old ladies would win in a fight. Not that either Superman or Spider-Man would go for that, but like I said, it's fun to imagine, in this case, goofy situations. But I think I will leave it at that. Might finish putting up the roof, and then I'll probably stop. But as far as the video goes, that's it for now. I'll just sit here and do my boring stuff, and I'll leave you guys to mull, or a person, leave one person maybe to mull over who's better in a fist fight, boxing match if you have to define it as such. But you know, regular old barroom brawl type of situation. Aunt May or Martha Kent, who would win? I don't know.